All right, guys. For this video, I'd just like to show you some of the maps that I've been working on. I've been spending a bit of time, getting to learn how to use Dave's redistricting, and I've actually put together a number of maps that, maybe I'd like to, show you guys and see what you guys think. This is a compact map that I drew of New Hampshire. It's actually intended to be a district map where both seats are competitive, kind of like the one that Sununu drew. But I instead had it taken, some, this southern district right here, takes in more of the places like Manchester, Rochester, Nashua is here. Actually, Manchester is in this district. So as you can tell, if we turn off the precinct lines, you turn on the district lines and the county lines, you get a sense of really how this works. This district voted for Biden by about 7.5 points, as did this one. The margins are identical. I just feel like it's more appropriate to do a north-south split, considering some of these more rural portions are right here. But yeah, no, this is, as you can tell, this is going to be a compact map, and a map that actually tries to try to do two different districts. You're going to see that it's actually going to be that's actually going to look a lot less compact if you try to do that. Yeah, if you can tell right here, this is a map where it's meant to split 1-to-1. You can tell, this is a map that if we just scroll down to get the presidential numbers, this district right here, which sort of winds everywhere its way, which intended to be like a Biden plus 18.5 seat, but then you go here, and that basically allows for a Trump plus 3 seat. So you kind of have to draw the districts weirdly in order to get a map in which you have a 1-to-1 map. Now contrast that to Maine, where a relatively more compact map is going to be a 1-to-1 map. It still kind of squiggles a little bit, but it's still pretty compact. You can see just how democratic Maine's coast is. Biden is winning this district by over 30 points. But on the other hand, this district right here, the northern Maine, goes for Trump by double digits. It's the only New England congressional district that I know how to draw that basically makes it so that Trump wins a double-digit seat in 2020. On the other hand, if you do a split, east and west, you actually can get a map that you have both districts that are roughly competitive. We scroll down to see the presidential numbers. Biden wins, see this district here, by 8.9. He wins this district by 9.2. So there's a way that Maine could have been drawn that would have had essentially both districts would have been, very competitive, and probably, pretty decent for the Democrats. So you can see there's only a population deviancy of about 156 people, which is pretty decent. Staying on New England just for a bit, I wanted to show you this map that I drew. It's actually a map in which you have two congressional districts that are actually really competitive instead of safe. So this district right here that's stretches along southern Connecticut is pretty safe for the Democrats. This district right here is centered on Hartford. That's also pretty safe, and also this district right here, which is centered more on the New York suburbs. That is pretty safe for the Democrats. But look here, this is Jahana Hayes' seat. You can see right there, Biden's only winning the seat by 2 points. And if you scroll even further down, and you look at the presidential numbers from 2016, Trump is winning this seat by a pretty decent, by 8 points. Even though Richard Blumenthal is still winning it in 2016. And then you look at this map right here where you see that in 2016 Trump also wins it by 6.5, but you go up to the 2020 numbers, and again Biden is actually winning the seat by about 1.9%. And if you go to the governor's race, well, then both these districts are actually voting for Bob Stefanowski by pretty decent margins. And you can't say that of any of the other seats. So then Lamont, won overall in 2018. He's probably going to win again, but he didn't perform too hot in some of these areas. Like this is Windham County right here. This is Litchfield County right over here, and these are some of the more Republican parts, really of the these are some of the more Republican parts of the New England area, but particularly of Connecticut. And both these counties did vote for Trump in 2020, so that's something to keep in mind. Staying on the theme right here, I've managed to draw a Rhode Island map in which you can get a congressional district that only votes for Biden by about 5 points. You do that by making this district right here very, very Democratic. So if we turn on the precinct lines, we can see, this district is not just Providence, but it also includes some very Democratic areas like Pawtucket, East Providence, Barrington in particular. I consider this to be possibly the most progressive town in Rhode Island. Warren, Bristol, Portsmouth is in here, and South Kingstown is in here. But the rest of the seat here, there's some more, swingy or Republican areas, particularly around this area right here, along sort of the western part of the state. You actually have some areas in Rhode Island that are arguably trending to the right, and so if you're willing to pack as many Democrats as possible, in particularly places like Barrington and Providence, and draw a district that, the rest of the state is actually quite competitive. Now, the reason why I drew the next three maps that we're going to look at is because the Supreme Court is taking up a case that could see a weakening of some provisions of the Voting Rights Act that basically mandate that districts basically have representation for minority groups like African Americans, Latinos, and Asian Americans. So we basically get to see a map where if that really goes the way that some people are hoping, that that could result in a map that kind of looks something like this. And if we turn on, and I think this would be easier to see if we turned on some of these other data sets, particularly when it comes to the presidency, because I think it can give a really good illustration, of what we're talking about. Because under the Voting Rights Act, one of these districts basically has to be, majority African American, and I would argue two of them should be. But here's a situation in which none of them are. You see, this is this district, Trump plus 27, Trump plus 25. Trump plus Trump plus 23. This gets a little bit ridiculous, but you see here Trump plus 27, Trump plus 27. Here's the sixth district right here. This is Trump plus I'm going to say 24, and then finally you see this is a map in which Trump wins all of these districts by at least like 23-point margins, and it's basically a map that successfully cracks the African American population quite easily. You can see right here this three-way split in Birmingham that basically allows that to be possible. And I didn't even have to split Tuscaloosa in order to do this. So that's something to keep in mind, is that if we can see this with some of the other maps I'm going to bring up here. And we can see a similar thing here with Louisiana. The main splits happen right here in Baton Rouge and right here in New Orleans. But you can see here, we should turn on the data sets to really get to illustrate this. So we can see here, we have a Trump plus 15 seat here, Trump plus 15 seat here, and right here, this more South Cajun country-based seat. So those New Orleans, that's a pretty Republican seat right here. Trump, this seat's Trump plus 4. You can see it wraps around the state going all the way to Shreveport. But the district still votes for Trump by about 15 points. This seat right here, same thing. It's Trump plus 22. And this seat right over here is Trump plus 30 plus 19. So you're going to notice here no African American majority seat. And it's basically a very efficient cracking of the African American population. Finally, we can see a similar thing here with Mississippi. You go to the districts one by one. Trump plus 18 seat. This one's a bit closer. Trump plus 13. Trump plus 17. And finally, Trump plus 18. So you have a very efficient split of the African American population, particularly in Hinds County, which is Jackson. The point of these three maps, and I'm also working on one with South Carolina, I just haven't figured out how to do that one yet, is that if this portion of the Voting Rights Act is struck down, we could see maps like this. One that draws 4-0, 7-0, 6-0 maps in some of these Republican states with large African American minority populations. So here's the Arizona map that I drew. And it's basically a 4-4-1 split. This district right here is very sprawling seat. Basically, wraps it around, takes in Flagstaff, some of these Native American tribes are here, and like the Navajo over here. We've got some, rural mining areas like here in Greenlee County, and then, taking in, the majority of the land in Pima County, and then coming in and taking the support of Maricopa. And you can see this map is basically just like so evenly split. Biden only wins seat by 1.5 points. In 2016, I believe Trump just barely wins the seat. This is a seat that under a fair map would be like, very competitive. And it would really only be the only competitive seat right here, because you'll see here, Democrats actually have four safe seats. This District 7, they have 4-6. This District 7, that's basically a majority Hispanic seat. This would be Ruben Geigo's seat. This District 6 right here is again another. This David Schrecker would have a hard time holding on here, and this District 8, which is actually sorry, this District 9. I'm pointing to the wrong one. This District 9 is the third safe Democratic seat in the Phoenix area, and it would be it's much more white, affluent, college educated, but still trending very Democratic. And then finally, you have a fourth seat that's way down here in the Tucson area. And the Republican seats are obviously going to be this one. They're going to be this one. And they're going to be this one. That all cover suburbs in the Phoenix area. And you got this seat, which is one that Paul Gosar would love here. This is basically Western Arizona. And some of the most Republican parts of the state are in the seat. Mainly this portion right here. But basically overall, this is a 4-4-1 map in what I consider to be an evenly divided state. Here's a map that I'm particularly proud of, as it's a fair map for Maryland. Basically, you've got the two Republican districts right here on the this one on the Eastern Shore, and then you got this one in the Northwest that are all fairly Republican, and that David Trump would have a hard time holding a seat like this. What I also wanted to do was maximize African American representation, and I did that by having two seats take up this area that is known as Prince George's County, and it basically is these are two majority African American seats that are meant to, along with this Baltimore-based seat, are meant to maximize African American representation in Congress from Maryland. Basically, this right here is the only majority white Democratic seat in the state, because this seat right here, which will be held by Jane Raskin, this is majority minority, and you'll actually see here. Unlike this district, which did vote for Larry Hogan, this seat did not. It actually, by about, I'd say 3.2% voted for Ben Jealous. And it kind of, I think, illustrates, the extent to which Larry Hogan's support really was with Maryland's white electorate. He did get some support from minorities, but not a lot. And then finally, right here, this is a district I'm particularly proud of, because this district is Steny Hoyer's seat, but it is highly competitive. You can see here Biden only wins it by a little over 3 points. And it would kind of be fun, if this really were like a Republican leading year, to see the Senate, the House Majority Leader having to run a real race for re-election, assuming Republicans can nominate a good candidate here. I know not everyone's going to be a big fan of this map, but it's the first map that I drew, and I'm actually it's something that I like right here. So you got this first district that is basically based on Eastern Virginia, including the Eastern Shore. I know that there are some people who think the Eastern Shore, shouldn't be in the seat, but I personally think, it actually better belongs here. And you basically got, if we see here, the president in the presidential race, it went for Trump by about 10 points. So this would be a better seat for someone like Rob Whitman to be able to hold. This seat right here is a suburban seat in the Hampton Roads region. And you can see right here, this is a highly divided seat. Biden only wins it by a little over a point. So, in a race, Republican year, Elaine Luria would not be, doing too hot against someone like Jen Kiggins. And then you've got this seat right here. I don't know if it's I'm not sure how easy it is to draw. Oh yeah, we have to scroll down here for Virginia for some reason. But you can see here, I don't know if it's actually possible to draw VRA seats in Virginia. This one I think is the closest you can come to that. So it may not be mandated in Virginia's case. So this seat basically is highly compact. It takes in Norfolk, Portsmouth, Hampton, Newport News, those 4 compact urban areas, as well as portions of Suffolk right here. And this fourth seat, kind of follows that same pattern. It's not a VRA seat. People have this idea of drawing the fourth seat, kind of down all the way into South Side. But I had the idea of making a compact seat, in Richmond, Henrico County, and sort of this inner portions of Chesterfield County, basically having a compact seat in the Northern Virginia area that would complement not in the Richmond area, that would complement the one in Hampton Roads. I say Northern Virginia a lot because I'm excited to get to that part of the state. But first, we got to discuss this seat, which I think some people are going to be mad about, but which I kind of like. It is basically all of the college towns. I try to put as many college towns as I could possibly think of. And if we turn on precinct lines, you can sort of get a sense of, okay, we sort of get a sense of what exactly is, and when we turn on cities, we can get a sense of exactly what is in this district. You've got Harrisonburg, which is right over here, Staunton, Waynesboro. You've got Charlottesville right over here. You've got, so here's Buena Vista, and I believe this is Lexington. You've got Lynchburg. Scroll right over here. Yeah, this is not. I'm not entirely sure why it's not showing up, but this is Lynchburg. Yeah, there it is. This is Madison Heights. You've got Roanoke. And then you've got Blacksburg and Radford, which are all over here. These are all various college towns that actually make for a pretty competitive district in what is otherwise a region of the state that is not that competitive. It's actually a lot of Republican territory in this part of the state. So with that said, let's move over to this map. Actually, let's move over to here. And you can tell this is District 6, which is Shenandoah Valley. Some portions. These 2 districts do take in some portions of the Northern Virginia area. This is right here, Stafford, parts of Spotsylvania right here. This is also, I believe, let's say Fredericksburg. Well, this area takes in the more eastern, western portions of Northern Virginia, including Fauquier County, which is right over here. This is more Republican part of Northern Virginia. That's more rural, and Culpeper as well, which is I think also more rural. And then you also have these Republican precincts in Prince William and this portion of Loudoun County, which is a lot more Republican than the rest of Loudoun County. But on the whole, it's intended to have two Republican seats in the parts of Northern Virginia. It's actually possible to draw most of the rest of Northern Virginia in a Trump +5 seat. This seat that would sort of include you know, this portion and Fauquier and Loudoun and these counties right here. But I decided to do it a little bit differently. This is a South Side based seat, and it is. If we look at the this is not a seat that wipes. Wow, whites absolutely dominate here. There's a large African American population. Uh, but so that's what keeps it kind of competitive. But it's basically these South Side areas. But you have some of these counties in these, particularly over here, that are more African American. You also have like Danville down here, which is I think also more Democratic. Then you've got the Northern Virginia seats. This is District 8, which is based in Arlington and some of Fairfax. District 9, which is over here, this is Southwestern Virginia and is basically the most Republican seat in the state and is one of the state districts that's been talked about as a possibility of electing a Q-type candidate if and when Morgan Griffith decides to retire. District 10 is Loudoun County and Fairfax itself. Again, pretty Democratic. And finally, you've got this district of the most Democratic portions of Prince William County are located here. So you've got three relatively compact seats in Northern Virginia, one in Richmond and one in Hampton Roads. You've got Republican seats here, 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 and you've got competitive seats here and here. Overall, I'm pretty proud of this map. All right, so this is Pennsylvania now, and this is another map I'm particularly proud of, but will make some people angry. So starting off here, you've got the Philadelphia-based seats, and I'm not entirely sure why they're not showing up here, but you've got this Bucks County-based seat that also stretches into this northeastern portion of Philadelphia right here. And it really creates a very competitive seat, but one that Brian Fitzpatrick would be able to hold down. This seat is the majority white portions of Philadelphia, very Democratic. This is the VRA seat. And if we can actually just get it right here, this is the VRA seat and is also very Democratic. This seat is kind of competitive, but is basically Montgomery County as well as this portion of Berks. This is another highly Democratic seat that is in Delaware County, which is basically become pretty Democratic. This seat is based in Chester County, which is swinging pretty hard to the left, but also takes in Reading, right over here. This seat is Lehigh Valley-based seat and is actually fairly Democratic leading seat. It's one that Susan Wild would have a better time here than I think the one that ultimately got drawn for her. You've got Allentown, Easton, Bethlehem, they're all here. And you've also got these portions of Monroe County, like East Stroudsburg as well. So, and also kind of juts into taking this Democratic portion of this county right here. District 8, is kind of the consequence of drawing such a Democratic seat down there, is you have to make this seat pretty Republican. As you can see here, Josh Shapiro does not win this version of the seat, and it's basically pretty ends up being pretty Republican. And you can even tell here that Bob Casey Jr. does not win the seat either. But although, mind you, Lou Barletta was from here. He's from Hazleton, which is down over here. So maybe that has something to explain it. Then you've got the Republican seats, which are right here in South Central, right here in the northern part of the state, right here. This is Southwestern and actually has, I think, a majority of residents here would be Democrats, even though this is a very Republican seat. And then up here, this is Erie, stretching down all the way to Newcastle. But then you've got a couple competitive seats. You've got this one right here that is basically, connects some of the cities in South Central Pennsylvania, like Lancaster, York, Harrisburg, and Carlisle. What an interesting thing to keep in mind is that the Democratic base would be highly varied. In fact, if we actually click on the seat, you'll actually kind of see a lot of Latinos live here and would be the Democratic base here. A lot of African Americans live up here, and so that would be comprise the Democratic base here. So you could actually get some interesting primary results here. I think you have college-educated whites that live over here. So all of those groups banding together would actually create some very interesting primary results. Then you've got this seat right here, which is the Pittsburgh base seat. And one more thing we'd say sort of about the 15th is that uh, I believe if we go down here, uh, this seat, oh yeah, this seat is drawn in such a way that it's so red that Tom Wolfe does not win it. In contrast to where Tom Wolfe does win this seat, but this seat is so Republican. The original version of Pennsylvania's, I think it was 16th at the time, did vote for Tom Wolfe very narrowly. But Erie has just swung so hard to the right. I mean, yeah, to the right, and it's just not able to make up the difference, in the rest of this district here, which is pretty Republican. Let's look at one more here. This is the one I drew of Oklahoma. It's nothing that impressive. It's intended to be a fair map. You've got Republican seats. If we scroll down, we'll actually see this more. Got your typical Republican seats, in the Tulsa area. I actually drew this to be more compact, taking more of the suburbs like Broken Arrow. Uh, this district right here is actually, I believe, has the biggest overperformance for Drew Edmondson versus Donald Trump. This area used to be Democratic, and there are still counties here that actually have majority Democratic voter registration, but the area has swung insanely to the right. You see here, Kevin Stitt only wins this district by 22 and a half points. Trump wins it by 53 and a half points. Just to give a sense of just how big the swing here has been. And it's a little bit less pronounced, elsewhere, like in this northwestern seat. This seat down here. These are all safe Republican seats. But this one right here is one that's intended to be a district that Democrats can win. It's Oklahoma City along with Norman right over here. And it's actually worth noting, I believe the cities of Tulsa city of Tulsa and Norman, I believe those cities both voted narrowly for Biden. I believe Oklahoma City itself narrowly voted for Trump. I think the county itself was more Democratic than the city because the city actually kind of stretches out into other counties. And so I think the county was like Trump plus one. I think the city may have been Trump plus five. Just to give you a sense of how ridiculously Republican Oklahoma City used to be. Mayors in here still regularly win by thumping margins. So I think that's enough for now. But next time, I think I'd like to look at some other maps and just show you more of what I've done.